There we go. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and believers of all ages. It's Anthony with Pure Fun Media
Pure Fun Media, yeah, Allies of
doing
Majesty.
Allies
Yeah,
of Madness. Yeah, yeah. We haven't talked in a while, and but yeah, I thought, hey,
been a little bit.
let's see how the Christian RPG right culture is doing, or whatever, whatever we're all trying to do. There's so
We're
few of
trying.
us, right?
Yeah, there's a few. There are a few.
But so few. Uh,
Yes,
yeah. I just had someone on YouTube tell me why put Christianity into an RPG. I get
I've
that.
I've faced that
Yeah,
multiple times. Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like, you have 12,000 other RPGs to go and enjoy. 12,000.
exactly,
Go and enjoy them.
exactly. It's not. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's something new. It'd be kind of like saying, why are you doing an RP? I mean, I'm making up something, but
yeah.
like let's say there aren't many, why do one in feudal Japan? And there are ones, but let's just say, and it's like, well, how many others are there? Why do we need to do another with orcs and
I know. Like, yeah. Well, have you complained to all the ones doing fantasy? Because we've already got
yeah,
D&D. Why do we need more fantasy
I mean
RPGs?
so
So,
many more
are
that are
you
basically D&D with a different name. Yeah.
are you complaining to them? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what we're doing. So you. So yeah, how's it been going for you? All right.
Yeah.
You interrupt me anytime you want, but I do see that you're going to the convention, the
Origins.
Origins. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be going to Origins later this month. So I went last year as well. It's a little rough, but Origins is local. So
Mhm.
I can go
Right.
there and that's no problem. But it's a little rough to go to some like Gen Con or ones where I have to have a hotel when I don't have a product to sell yet. So
Right.
yeah, that makes it a little bit. I'm not making any money to make up for it, And then with the RPGs, if you're not selling a product, you're not at a table where you have thousands of people coming by and looking at your table and saying, "Oh, tell me about your product." You're not doing that. You're more like demoing with a group of like five people, per group. And with RPGs, it's a 3 to 4 hour session.
Right.
And so it's like I'm only getting exposure, direct exposure to about maybe 35 to 40 something people, you know? But then if I'm also getting some peripheral exposure to other gamers that happen to be in that same game room,
Right.
so there's maybe like two or three other tables that may be playing with another five people each or so, and so they'll just at least see my banner that I have up or whatever. But it's like, okay, is it really worth, like 500 plus in hotel fees, and then if you have to take a plane or to go and get exposed directly to about 40 people and maybe get another 50 to 75 people
Yeah.
peripherally?
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you're doing. Yeah, I was wondering. I was curious about that.
Yeah, so
Um.
I'm just hosting events. I just signed up for like 8 events during Origins, and people will sign up and play the game. We just play.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've done that last year. You said.
I did that last year and it went really well. Actually, yeah. And you get a nice mix. It's kind of funny. I get a mix between I'll get the parent or a lot of like parents that are there with their teenager or young adult, or even adolescent. One had like three daughters there. So I'll get a couple of those sign up. And then there's just some RPG enthusiasts who happen to be Christian that sign up. And then there are the non-Christian RPG enthusiasts that are there, and they are like, even like agnostic, atheist, whatever, and they signed up because something was interesting to them. They liked the 7D12 system was commonly what I get. They're like, what's that about? I had to see, and you had openings.
Right.
And so I signed up for your event. And but then in my case, where you're like direct head on with the missionary, like for example, with the For the Lord, the not the Christians in Space, but the prior one, um, you're directly in that. Mine's a little more removed, and so they're playing angels. They're not playing a human Christian. They're playing angels assisting human Christians, or people of faith if it's pre-Christian, and they're dealing with that. So for them, the comment was they were afraid it might be cringy was the word they'd use, but that they felt like the mythological approach separated it enough that they could engage as a non-Christian and feel
Right.
like for them it was like Greek mythology or some other mythology,
Right.
which was interesting. And they said they enjoyed it, so good.
Right.
Different approaches.
Right. Yeah, I'm going for that crazy hardcore
Yeah.
mission thing where
No, and it's great, and it can get there. You can do that, and there's a place for all of it, and that's what I like is if we have a variety of us building this stuff, then people will be even like. Have you heard of Light Raiders? Are you familiar with that one? Yes,
yeah, I follow their Instagram and I know they came from Dragon Raid or the guy
they
knew
came from Dragon
knew
Raid.
Dragon
Yeah,
Raid and
that one's a little
updated it.
more
Like,
and they say you get it seems kind of mixed messages to me. One minute they say they're an RPG and the next minute they say they're a discipling tool. But it feels from the videos I've seen, it looks and feels more like a set. Here's this scenario we're going to go through, and you're going to get these verses because they're teaching you Bible verses and stuff,
yeah,
and you're going to learn these things as you go. So it seems like a nice, an alternative for Sunday school, or like family game night or something, where you're trying to intentionally be discipling, and but like, okay, what do you do when you're done with that, and your kids or want something more? Okay, well, here's for the Lord, or here's Allah's Majesty, or here's yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, the other on the other side, the secular side, the pagan side, which I say
Yeah.
derogatorily, obviously, but
No, I got yeah.
that's who I am, Tom.
Be you, man. We're all
Yeah. um, they support each other. They're so
yeah.
inbred. I don't mean that derogatory, but they're just so like
No, no.
they cross promote each other all the time. Everyone
Except
has.
the OGL stuff. Did you notice that? Once D&D, a year and a half ago now, once D&D got in trouble with the OGL stuff, Paizo and Kobold Press and a couple others all banded together and
Right.
started saying, "Hey, look, we're not D&D." And they made all these things kind of basically throwing D&D under the bus, you
Yeah,
know?
but they're still
But
they're
other than
still
that, you're right. It's very cooperative, other than that weird anomaly,
yeah,
they're pretty cooperative and supportive.
and they buy each other's stuff. Everyone has
Yeah.
20 different games, so
Yes.
on their
Exactly.
shelves and stuff. So like here,
Yes. And that's why we need to work together.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
just yes, yeah. I mean, most RPGers will have 30 games they've never played, but they got to have them. They got to have them on
And
their
that's
shelf,
it.
and they'll even buy like me. They'll buy out like
Yeah.
7 campaign books
Yeah.
to read through them or look at them or
Yeah.
whatever.
And just get the fun out of looking through
Yeah,
and imagining this world or exploring what it would be like, and kind of getting your mind. That's half the fun for some people.
yeah.
Yeah.
For DMs and GMs, that is the fun of it.
That is the
Probably
fun.
secretly,
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
gather all that stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is your like? Is it a like pen and paper maps, battle maps, miniatures?
Yeah.
What is the kind of the table look when you do these
Okay.
things?
So the table look, the table itself. So as of right now, so we'll tell you what's right now and what I'm making. So what's right now is, I've got let me grab one of these. You'll have your and sometimes the screen doesn't it blacks it
Sure.
out, but like you have your character sheet. See
Uh
if I don't have
oh.
my head,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
won't show it. But like,
So
you
yeah, you
have
got
a
a character
character
sheet. Uh huh.
sheet and then you have so pen and paper, like a traditional game. But then also because it tends to be a little bit tactical, you'll have these like little like character miniatures that I just make out of like cardstock and print off your art for it and fold them over and
Uh huh.
they're nice and easy and flat.
Right.
But you'll have those and you just measure with a tape measure instead of grids because hey, these guys can fly in the air or go underground or whatever. So it tends to be more tactical. And so I've broken it down to the little chunks like of learning. So it's like there's the full game, and then there's the intro, and then you add this, and then you add this if you want. You never have to. So that's what it looks like right now. You've got your dice tray or whatever with 7 12-sided dice.
What about
And
the like the battle map or the scene or whatever the setting?
it's whatever you want to put out, whatever
Oh,
you're
okay.
doing. So like it's very free form in that regard. You don't have to draw it out, but if you want to, you can. I just use like I've got these little packs of like buildings that they come pre whatever terrain or you just grab whatever you have. And I mean, Legos, I don't care. You just
Okay.
build whatever you need
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're not going too nuts on selling our own train. And there's so much out there. It's one of the things we don't need to. It's usually pretty versatile. A house is a house or a tree is a tree.
And so you're doing like,
So
so you're
yeah.
doing like angels. They kind of have and they go up against devils or what? What are they? Demons
Yeah,
or?
yeah. So the way how does it look? Okay, when you're playing, not the look, but how does the flow feel, the story feel? And so basically, you are like how Daniel, when it says, by decree, like when Nebuchadnezzar is gonna lose his intelligence and get all animal-like and all this, it says this is gonna happen by decree of the Holy Watchers. And then there's this maligned version. If you start looking at like Enoch, First Enoch, or some of these other non-canonical texts, there's the Jewish belief that kind of gets around watchers in a negative way. So there's this idea that God has created humans, but he's also has divine beings that he's created that he also involves in the world or the universe. And in this case, we are those who are tasked we're holy ones. We're not the bad guys. And we're tasked to help um, basically just kind of be there either with a direct commission of, hey, go be in this situation in this time, help this person have this thing, or if it's like this, this person's mom, they're lost or suicidal and their mom's been praying for them or their grandma or their best friend or whoever, and that prayer has released you guys, God's like responding to that prayer and sending you guys to help or whatever. So we're going and we're behind the scenes. They don't know we exist usually. They might know we exist. They don't know we're there. We're invisible to the material realm. And there generally are going to be, in most cases, when we're involved, evil spirits, harmful spirits that are trying to do bad things or encourage bad behaviors or bad thoughts or push people over the edge, away from God. And we're there to intervene. And so sometimes there's a conflict. Sometimes we're just there to flex a little bit and scare the bad guys away.
Is it like
But it's all in
investigate?
how you
It's
play
like
it out.
right. Yeah, so you kind of get a mission, and then you got to go investigate, and
Yeah,
you kind of
it's kind
watch
of
what's going on.
somebody told me it was like it felt kind of like an espionage game where imagine this, if you're the secret society that most civilians don't know about and your enemy is too, and they're
Yeah.
a counter agency, but the civilians generally don't know what you guys are up to, but you know each other and are looking out for each other. It kind of feels that way because you're unseen by the material realm most of the time. There's sometimes you get that cool moment where you get to manifest and deliver some Gabriel style message to somebody, but those are more rare than they are common.
So you're like when you go to a place, a village, you see what's going on to figure out what's going on.
Sometimes, yeah. That
Or
that's it all depends on the GM. See, some people want to play it more like a skirmish board game almost, where they don't really want a lot of interactive story. They just want to know, why am I about to engage in this battle? And then just give me an excuse so I know why. And then we're going to fight this battle out because I just like tactics.
hmm,
Some people play it that way. Other
oh,
people want to play it more like the traditional RPG where they care less about the tactics. They want to know more about the situation. And so I kind of make it so that it can be flexible. Whichever way you lean, you can play it more that way. But if you're into that, yeah, sometimes it's investigative. You may need to bear, I mean, God knows all, but you're going to bear witness to this thing or be he doesn't tell, just like he doesn't tell us humans all, he doesn't always tell and there's biblical evidence for that, but that he doesn't tell the spirits all the time, all the details. And so you're given what you need to know and you have to proceed by faith. A lot of our situations end up feeling very Christian for humans, even though you're angels, because you're still taking what he's told you and proceeding in faith with what you don't know. And it's very relatable to your personal Christian walk, but it feels cooler because you're an angel.
or- yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah. So my channel. I just do the rants and the
Yeah.
and then the shows. I do the
Yeah.
hardcore rants
Good stuff.
and then the happy shows where we play missionaries. Yeah.
It's
I
good stuff,
yeah.
man. It's good stuff.
I was thinking of like doing like some of those local strategicons or whatever over here in
Yeah.
LA, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. As far as I mean, I'm just not there in the sense of I will probably get criticized, out in the open at a table because of what I do. Because it's about the missionaries evangelizing pagans and
Yeah, yeah, because yours is a lot more. I can see that. I don't get a ton because it's that focus on them. Like I said, for a non-Christian, it just feels like a mythology style game, a mythological.
superhero mythology.
Yeah,
Or,
so maybe that shields me from a little of that, and you're a little more with it, the kind of in your face with it, which is like I said, it's great, but that might open you up to a little more. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know
I
yet
mean,
because I haven't
I haven't had a
done
ton
that.
of
I
negative.
get it on YouTube, but so I'm assuming I'm going to get it in person
Well,
at some point.
yeah, YouTube,
I've even
but it's different in your face. It'd be different in your face,
I've
you
even
know?
gotten Christians though in my face
I'm
little
sure.
like I got, I had one guy come and say he just didn't. I could tell he was kind of like almost shaking. He didn't like what I was doing. He didn't like that I was putting Christianity into D&D or into
Yeah,
RPGs. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
we are gonna have to agree to disagree. And I need to,
yeah,
and I'm at my booth and I need to do my thing. You need to, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. You go back to your booth. I mean, I literally had to
yeah.
say that to him. And I'll do my thing.
Okay.
You go ahead and disagree.
Wow.
I had to kind of do that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
I've had one when it comes to Christians. Now, with non-Christians at the booth, I had at Pensacon a couple years ago in early 23. I had a guy come up and he asked me, and this is not the first time I've been asked, like, well, can you play the bad guys? And I said, not in this game. It's not geared toward that. I mean, if you buy the game and you do what you're going to do, you own the game. You're going to homebrew it, whatever you want. It's not set up that way. You're not intended to do that. And he says, well, but then I can go play this other game like Scion, and that's not angels, but it's, you're like
Go
demigod
ahead.
or something.
Go
Or
ahead.
these others, exactly. I could just play this or that. And I'm like, okay, and this might be better games for you. Go ahead, man. That's
Yeah.
cool. This might not be the game for you.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
okay with that. Doesn't mean I just shut my game down because you don't like it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goal, I think, is to. I mean, I'm ready to do it. I just got to find the time and energy. But is to go. I want to just, and there is a Christian one here, a Christian Comic Con, like a small
Yeah.
little Christian Comic Con. But my goal
Yeah.
right now is just to get Christians to start playing with Christians, in fellowship,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just to practice and create a culture, a Christian RPG culture
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
then can shine a light on the rest of the RPG culture. Yeah.
Yes, and okay, so here's another thing we kind of run into because I don't know. I think what's your background again? I think you're a little more conservative background, like
Little,
not that I'm liberal. I'm
extremely.
just saying uh theologically.
Oh,
Are you reformed more or
yeah.
what?
I mean, I'm kind of like the black sheep of. I'm at John MacArthur, Pastor John MacArthur's Grace
Okay.
Community Church,
Oh, okay.
I'm the black sheep of that church. Just
Yeah. Well, okay.
whatever. But that's
That's
kind of,
fine.
that's
Well,
where I'm
that's
at.
just your nature, bro.
Yeah, yeah. A guy there told me, Ron, you don't have a filter. I'm like, oh
You
yeah, I
know
guess I
what?
don't.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, be us, man. God created you, gave you things, do it. But because what I found is we still in general, I'll just say not so much reform areas. I've seen a decent amount of reform gamers, RPG players. You don't see a lot of traditional evangelical Protestants. Um, but you do see a lot of Catholic and Orthodox, like Eastern Orthodox and such players, because I don't think they have that of RPGs, and I don't think they have that remnants or whatever you want to say, like the trailing effects of the Satanic Panic from the 80s, where
That and the woke
evangelicals
thing too.
still
Yeah.
are like RPGs are evil. A lot of them, not all of them,
Yeah.
but you still fight that a lot. And I don't know how that is in Reformed tradition, but in, just general Methodist, Baptist, all those normal, and non-denominational, you'll have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. At my church, it's not even they don't even know what it is, so it's kind of
Oh, yeah.
strange.
And
I've
that's it.
talked
There's
to.
a lot that don't even have a
I know.
clue
I was like, what?
what
You
it
don't
is.
even
Yeah.
know what it is?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
weird to me.
I was set up to go to a Nazarene church from a good, a good friend of mine, pastor. We're friends and get along really well. And we all set up and I sent him my material ahead of time. And he called me up a few days before midweek and he's like, yeah, I could tell he didn't want, he's like, I don't think we should have you come. He doesn't think his congregation was ready to hear any of this. And I was like,
I
Okay,
know well, the kids are going to
okay,
hear it somewhere.
yeah,
Um,
you know,
the
and you just thought they'd think it was too weird, maybe, or
right.
yeah, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I had, I have a pastor and his two sons playing right now, and I haven't uploaded them yet because I need it. The first one we had so many audio difficulties, I need to clean it up. Just haven't gotten
Okay,
around to it. But we're on our
yeah,
third or fourth game now, and we have a 9-year-old speaking the gospel in the game. Like,
yeah, that's the stuff you
you know,
don't get in
he's
a
like,
regular non-Christian
yeah,
RPG. That's the thing that we both, I'm sure we have that shared experience that you because the situations, the storylines directly involve faith, our open Christian faith, naturally situations come up that create conversation and get into deeper things. It's a natural like stimulus for discipleship
yeah,
because it just gets us because you're having fun, you're sitting around a table, you're
you
having fun with each other, unless you're
take down
virtual,
your
you know.
guard
But
or
yeah, you're just having
relax your
fun, you're
guard.
relaxed, and it's not in your face stuff. Because I also noticed with when I was a youth pastor playing this like decades ago, um, in the old version of Allies, I had like young people, and they would get critique about their character, but they received it. But it was stuff that was kind of stuff they were guilty of in real life, like behaviors that were annoying or various things. And they would have other players critiquing, offering feedback on the character,
Mhm.
and they'd receive it because it wasn't at them, it was at their character, and it wasn't embarrassing. And okay, yeah, because it's just that character, you know. So they'd change how their character behaves then in future games. It would modify based on that social feedback, and
Affects
then
them,
it
yeah,
affected their real life. I had
yeah.
his parents, who happened to be the pastor, come to me and says, "What have you been teaching in the youth group?" You know, and I'm like, "What do you mean? I thought I was in trouble." You know, and he was just like, he's like, "Well, he told me the difference that he's seen in his son, and what have you done to achieve this?" And I cracked up. I'm like, "Well, that wasn't my sermons or anything. That was the role playing game."
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and his
we're
people,
missing out as a
yeah,
Christians. We're missing out on a huge tool that we could use to
yeah,
teach our kids and to teach them to work it out in their heads.
yeah,
And then to
yes,
actually say it with their mouth. No one. We don't do that. We don't say the gospel
yes,
in a way
and
of
it's
an
easier to do
evangelistic
it.
way.
It's easier to do it in a game
Yeah.
setting, but when you can, that's why role play, they use it. They use role play for these other like secular jobs like sales and therapy and all kinds of stuff. Because if you can do it in this low pressure setting,
Right.
you have a model and experience to pull from to do it in real life.
Yeah.
So as
Mhm.
you talk about these things or share the gospel or any of these things in a game setting, you're more equipped to naturally, organically do it in real life. Yeah.
Yeah. We had our first. I don't know if this is official or not, but on YouTube, our first Christmas in an RPG, like
Okay.
a real Christmas, not a
Yeah.
Santa the Butcher Christmas
Yeah.
or Santa the Butcher. They always have Santa the Butcher Christmas, like Murder Christmas, right? In all the RPG,
Oh, you're talking
like
about
any
the
RPG
Krampus,
specials or
the
game
Krampus stuff. Yeah,
or even just Santa Claus. They want to turn everything into bloody, you know,
yeah, yeah,
every
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of
There have been
motif.
quite a few of those. Yeah,
Yeah, but we're the first one where I'm making a silly claim, but we're the first one where we had an RPG where they actually had a Christmas tree. They 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 had a witch who converted, and she understood now what they're all about was trying to bring peace and
okay,
trying to all that kind of stuff. Like so, it was
yeah,
like an actual Christmas, and they had a prayer and all that. And then we even
yeah,
had a baptism in another game where they actually
okay,
baptized a gladiator they converted. You know, So I'm
yeah,
just trying to show you that we have to we have to show Christians doing Christian things and
yeah,
working it out too in the game. They're like when they evangelize, they're actually trying to work out how to say something to these pagans. And I'm playing
yes,
silly pagans who question what they're saying. I question
yeah,
the gospel and whatever they're preaching. I will
yeah,
throw angles at them, and
yeah.
just I just think that's what we need. Period. As a Christians, because we're not
I
doing
think,
that. We're all these other RPGs make us act like pagans,
yeah,
and so we're acting like pagans in real life now.
yeah,
We're going along to get along. We want to be good and heroes, but we want to do it because of what we do for people, not what the
yeah.
Lord does.
Well, and that's what I've noticed. Maybe you've noticed this. Do you talk to many people or read writings from many people that aren't like gung ho? Just I like for I'll just use D&D as the gold standard in this, but like they feel like it's okay, they can play D&D, but they're uncomfortable to some degree, and that degree varies, is
You
what
mean
I've
Christians?
noticed. Christians, they are uncomfortable to a little degree, or they're uncomfortable to a great degree, and they are fussing with ways to homebrew or other things to make it work. They have to tweak this or change that to make them feel comfortable in it. And so some people are like, "Oh, we're good 100%." And I'll get to another thing in that in a second, because that's something I wanted to come back from Christians. But this is just people that aren't like gung ho, we can do it. They're just they have some kind of problem with it, but they have a varying degrees. Do you see many people like that? Talk to many people like that, and they're wrestling with how to make it work.
I well, the way I see it is that the way they solve that is by saying, "I do good things. I help people in the game."
Well, yeah,
You
okay.
know,
I've
I'm
heard
like, but
that
that,
one.
yeah.
I've heard where they've even gone to like big
But
lengths
they
where
only
they
have.
take all the gods out and they try to replace them with like saints or something, or angels or
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I do know, like they say, I worship one God though. That's it. Like
yeah, they
the
do
Father
that a
God,
lot.
whatever the
There's a
Father
lot of
was
at
in there.
least that.
Yeah,
But the problem is when you're in that, you're not really, especially unless you're playing
you're
with a group
pagan.
of
You're
only
still a pagan.
Christians, you're still like the game Testament. Have you heard of that one? It's an older game. It's not a Christian game. It's not trying to be. But like in that one, people would bring that up as a Christian option. But it's like, yes, okay, it is ancient Near Eastern. It is from a human. Your characters are humans, but you're Hebrew. You could be like, Israelite, but you also could be Canaanite or Egyptian or the Babylonian. You could be these other ones, and their gods are just as powerful and just as real as
You just can't be
Yahweh.
Jesus.
So it's like, well, then
Can't have
there,
Jesus.
there's not really a Christian game because you're not from our mythos, from our beliefs, our theology is that our God is superior and create any other being that would be a God is a created spiritual being that is just a rebellious angel. Like they're not
Right.
equal to him in any way, shape, or form, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
but you can't get away from that in these other games very well.
Oh, well,
You know,
they just say,
they're
look,
not they're not made for it.
on purpose, and
Yeah,
and they pretend they're
exactly.
not, but they're absolutely they're and they're it's all pagan. It's all pagan,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
want you to be
they're not structured that way. They're not a yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
but they want you to no religion in the game. So what God do you want? Which God do you want to worship, or which
I
God do you want
know.
to? But you said no
Right.
religion. Well, no, we got these different gods. Just no politics or religion. But what they really mean is no
Right.
Christianity. They
Yeah.
just don't want Christianity. You can have any
Or
other
or or
gods or
a more
demigods you
I
want.
think and I'll broaden that. I'll say what they don't want is any modernly relevant religion so that we can keep it all pretend fantasy. I
Well,
think that's what they
what's
mean by.
I
But the
know, but
since you're Christian
nothing,
or I
nothing.
am,
Yeah,
we trigger that.
yeah, but
But I mean,
nothing
if somebody
modern.
came with I don't know. You know what? I think if somebody came in with another monotheistic religion, they would be upset. But I bet you if somebody came in with Buddhism or something, they'd have no problem.
Well, Buddhism is pagan, so yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they'd have no problem if somebody tried to. So I don't want to say fully modern, but maybe no monotheistic. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't bring in Islam for sure because they're just too afraid of Islam, and rightfully so. Islam
Well, yeah,
will
yeah,
act
yeah,
upon
yeah.
that
Yeah,
because Islam
I
has to act
understand.
upon their punishment, whereas we Christians don't because ours is God is vengeance, not us.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
exactly.
so they can, but yeah, I just Christians. I just want Christians to be Christian. Just be a Christian.
Yes.
What's a Christian?
Free
Well,
to be you.
the
Yeah,
commission. Say,
yeah.
and play a Christian. If you're gonna go into these games and play a pagan, you've given up. You've given up
Well,
already.
that's where I think a lot of the Christians that I've read their statements or talked to them that do have any kind of an issue, a lot of them have an issue because they feel because their faith is so real to them, their Christian faith, they feel if they're playing a character, and that's like me. I'm not trying to be this. I can't. There are some actors that won't they get celebrated if it's a Christian actor and says, "Well, I won't kiss anybody but my wife." And there are other people that say, "Well, you're acting on a screen. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You're not really kissing the person." Well, physically I am, and I can't separate myself from that act enough that I don't want. I still feel like it's a violation toward my wife. So I'm not going to do that. And so why it's the same thing for role-playing games. Like the whole fun for me is getting into the mind of my character and trying to kind of not be that person, but you know what I'm saying, and in pretend world, kind of acting that person and wanting to behave how they would behave or would do the things they would do. And it feels so, because my faith is so integral to my life, when I'm doing that with a character that can't express that, I feel empty. I feel detached from a part of myself, and I find myself being ugly because a lot of the things that keep me from being ugly and rude or other things are related to my faith. So when I separate myself from that, if I'm trying to play a game with a character that's not a reality for them, I don't therefore then have a connection to that motivation to be benevolent and to be not be sacrificial for others and just be self-serving and all this, because that's where I have that motivation to be good and to
Yeah.
do right is from my faith.
Yeah. I don't like how they say, it's just fantasy, because fantasy, it's not just, I mean, fantasy comes from,
Yeah.
I probably told you this already, but fantasy comes from the struggle between paganism and Christianity. That's where it comes from. That's why we all
Also,
love medieval stuff.
yeah, yeah.
We primarily want medieval stories of fantasy, and
Yeah, that's the biggest genre of
yeah,
RPGs is medieval style fantasy.
and
Yes.
and what they're doing is it's paganism and Christianity, that struggle, but what they're doing now is removing the Christianity and just highlighting the paganism, and
Exactly.
then chivalry and romance and compassion now are pagan things, which they are not.
Right, right,
Paganism is
right. They're
slavery,
not-
conquest, human sacrifice, and elves and dwarves and evil spirits. That's what it is,
yeah.
and calling to those evil spirits for power. Life cheats.
That's directly what
Yeah,
yeah, that's
rape,
directly
drug.
biblical
The
stuff.
love
Yeah.
potion is the biggest pagan thing in medieval times. The love potion, and that's
I
basically a rape drug.
never I
That's a rape
never
drug.
thought I never made that connection. That's exactly literally what it is.
Yeah.
Because you're taking that's one that we as parents, we always struggle. There's almost always in any non-Christian cartoon, kids cartoon or something, there's always the obligatory mind control episode where some
Just a life cheat.
good guy character gets mind controlled to be evil or do something. And it's always weird. And it's like we just skip those episodes. We don't have our kids watch those because the subverting of the will and all this stuff is just weird
And
and
pagan desire of
it's
paganism. Yeah.
begging. But I never thought about that's essentially it. Like the love potion is essentially a rape drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah.
and if you can do that to a woman, she's now enslaved to you with guilt
Yeah.
and shame. So it's a really horrible,
Yeah.
horrifying, imprisoning, shameful thing that a woman now is subject to you, who manipulated her and drugged her and then raped her, and then now
Yeah.
you have to marry me because
Yeah, because
That's-
of this culture.
yeah, it's a prison. And
Yeah.
we're sort of ignoring that's what paganism is. And
Yeah.
and paganism today is taking credit for romance. It's taking credit for chivalry. And I'm just getting,
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, Christians, stop playing those games and start playing a Christian game. Stop creating a medieval fantasy where you don't want to offend anyone and you want to remove the Christianity and then have this
Yeah.
wonderful medieval fantasy. You're just lying now
Yeah.
and propagating and uplifting paganism. And
Yeah.
and now kids don't even want Christianity, or don't, the culture doesn't. But I think it's our fault.
I think we've forgotten a lot of like things that are viewed as just good old American values or whatever. Like a lot of the ways in movies that Captain America will behave or something like that. A lot of that comes from that general benevolence of giving for others, sacrificing for others, putting yourself in harm's way for another. A lot of these things have their root in the Christian undergirding of the nation, the Christian origins of its
Absolutely.
leaders, and how they wanted to instill those values. Even the ones that are more deist, they still had those values, and they felt it important to instill those values in the culture.
I wouldn't even say a lot. I would say all.
But yeah, that's the thing. So they are, yeah, they did, and but then we we want we want to keep the values and divorce ourselves from the origin of them.
Like yes, a really good
Yeah, and it
example
doesn't
is
work.
yeah, the
It
really good
doesn't work.
example is slavery. They complain about slavery and all. Christian slavery lasted less than 300 years. 1600 to 1800.
Okay.
You know,
Oh, you're talking about with that line. And we were one of, I mean, what about the credit for being a
Ending,
nation that helped to get rid of it, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, well, the entire culture. I mean, medieval Europe, when it became Christian and strong enough,
Yeah.
ended slavery. Is
Yeah.
it created an economic system that was still rough and tumble, but wasn't slavery.
It
Um,
threw me for a loop when you said that because I'm like, well, I know it existed in Bible times too, and Roman
well,
Empire.
I'm talking
But I mean, I
Christianity
know
though.
what you mean.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
talking when Christianity became a church
Yeah.
gathering
The
thing.
the
Three to
dominant
four,
thing. Yeah.
500 AD is when we started ending slavery
Right.
in
Right.
succession,
Right.
and
Okay.
then when it started to come back though in 1600 Portuguese,
Yeah.
it didn't last that long if you think about it.
No. Yeah.
But in the pagan world, slavery has been constant. It hasn't, and today it hasn't even ended. And the reason,
That,
and it's
yes.
coming back because the white savior, the Royal Navy that ended it, the British Royal Navy that ended it in around Africa in the
Okay.
1800s is not there anymore. Obviously that the whole Christendom has been removed, and slavery is returning today, even
Yeah.
worse than it has
Okay.
been.
I haven't followed that, but I do know there it was rampant and it wasn't, we're focused because of our location geographically and culturally, we're very much focused on the United States of taking from Africa and
Which
bringing
is
them
a
over.
which is a lie.
But that's a
I
small
mean,
portion of the history of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
slavery.
And
There's so much that was not even, it's always been whoever has power taking advantage, whoever has doesn't have
that's
power.
paganism.
So
The
in that case, with development, it happened to be blacks in that case, but there's other case with a lot of white slavery and Muslim slavery, like Muslims initiating slavery,
oh yeah,
a lot,
oh,
and stuff like
from the
that.
get
Yeah,
go,
historically, yeah,
and the church planning churches throughout Europe, and then even in Africa during during that 1800-year period, is
yeah,
when slavery paganism was on the retreat and slavery was being ended.
yeah,
So that's paganism. It's
yeah,
horrific. I mean, it was genocidal.
yeah.
So my my
When the only, I mean, you get down to the standard of which Darwin acknowledged, you get down to the standard of when you remove God from the situation, ultimately might makes right. Whoever can
yeah,
survive can take, and whoever can take can have,
pagans can be nice
Yeah.
99% of the time, but they get that 1%. They can do that 1%. We Christians can't though. I mean, if we do,
Well,
we're
we
failing.
can, but
We're
we're wrong.
failing.
We're failing.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
for
We're
pagans, they're
not.
not failing at all. They can do that 1%.
No.
They get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they want to be effective in whatever they want, they can do that 1%.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yes. Yes.
We Christians
Yeah.
can't though.
We're breaking the rules.
If we
We're
do,
doing
yeah.
wrong.
If we
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
evil, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
we're all capable. But
yeah,
yeah. So something I wanted to circle back to. This is something I faced in a couple different directions. I faced it in an online group that I'm a part of, and I faced it that I faced it in a reviewer. There's a Christian, or no, there's an RPG reviewer who is a Christian and has openly declared it. But I talked to them about my game, and they're like, "I'll be honest, I'll be super critical of your game if you have me review it." And I was like, "Is it because their opinion is?" Let sacred be sacred. That's the way they approach it. Have you run into that where they're saying maybe the one guy that was shaken, I don't know, where it's like they're saying you they're afraid we're going to make a mockery of Christianity or something, misrepresent it somehow, fail to represent it well. And my response to that was because he says at best, because he says angels are this elevated topic and all these things, and I'm like, well, they're created beings, just like I don't, that God is holy. I get all that, but like anyway, I don't. We should honor the Bible says we should honor the glorious ones or whatever, like we shouldn't, like even Michael said, the Lord rebuke you kind of thing. There are those scriptures, but in general, acknowledge they're more powerful than us, but they're not God. They don't deserve worship. They're not, you know what I'm saying? We shouldn't be worshiping them.
right.
But for some reason, he said that I would probably be I don't know the exact wording, but long story short, a lackluster facsimile that doesn't really that's at best a mockery of the spirit realm. And I was like, okay, well, I hear that. I'm trying as a Christian to be Christ-like every day, and most of the time I end up just being almost a mockery of it And I do well, but I'm saying I don't succeed. I don't achieve it. So should I not try to be Christ-like? is that off the table because I won't do it perfectly because I'm not going to do it. So is not RPGs the same thing? Like if why should we not at least try? Is there a reason? Because I just feel like there's value. I'd like to hear your thoughts, but I feel like there's value in it. Obviously you do too because you're making a game, but just I don't know. What do you think about that?
I just get angry. No. I'm at the point now where I don't really, I'm going to go hyperbole here, but I don't care about your faith anymore. I don't care about, not you, I'm saying in a hyperbolic sense. I don't care how strong your faith is or how learned you are. I don't care anymore. What I care about is what are you doing for the Lord?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Because I am tired of the legalism. I'm tired of the who's right or wrong. I'm tired. What are you doing for the Lord? I don't even care if it's wrong or dumb or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll let God decide that. But what are you doing for the Lord? Because it's apparent that we are not doing much because the culture is so bad now. They're taking our children. They're butchering our children, and we're complaining about the sacredness of angels or majestic
Yeah, exactly.
things.
That's a good thank you. That's a great point.
I want to get back in the dirt.
Yeah.
I want to just get back in the dirt. I don't care about this anymore.
You know what? That's a good. That's why I asked. I wanted your perspective because I feel like that's a good perspective. That's a good way. Ultimately, what good are we doing? If that's one of the things I've noticed as I do a lot of study to try and get this game right. God, I feel like God says stuff to me once in a while, and I really felt like He was saying to me.
He says no to me a lot. That's what I feel.
What's that?
All I hear is no from him, but I don't know. Go ahead.
So I felt like it was he was basically saying, look, make sure because I was enjoying all the study and enjoying all the things I'm learning and all that, but it was like something about, I don't know, maybe it was a rough time and I was almost considering giving up or something. I don't know what it was, but basically he just impressed on me in that moment. And this is the point of what I was saying, that if you aren't sharing it, if I'm not sharing what I've learned with others, if I'm not teaching, if I'm not learning from too, but if I'm not taking the stuff I've learned and sharing it, then it's selfish of me. I'm doing nothing for his kingdom. And I'm just basically gathering up a bunch of good stuff just for me and keeping it to myself. So I need to make this game or I need to do these things to share this. You know what I mean? So that I'm doing something like what you're saying. I feel like that's it. And so when somebody, I mean, I can't give this as an answer to that person that's saying, let the sacred be sacred, because this isn't their calling, it's mine. So it doesn't prove anything to them. But I'm like, well, obviously, for me anyway, God doesn't disapprove of what I'm doing with it because he's telling me to do it. He's prompting me to do it. So I mean, for me, I'm not as worried about that sacrilege as they're worried about with me. But yeah, I think that point of doing something. What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah. Are we just debating and bickering, or are we actually trying to spread the good news and share it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sticking with, boots on the ground missionaries and that kind of thing. Cause it's just, it's what I want to learn. I'm not being taught evangelism, at our church or anywhere. And it's kind of weird to me that we're not being taught or drilled evangelism. I want to drill evangelism. Do you think
that part of that though is, and I don't know, because I'm not, of that persuasion, but is part of it with that in the sense of God's sovereignty, if you're looking at a Reformed theology that's more like look, God's going to draw those people that he's going to draw, so there's less of a
right.
need of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that maybe
I totally have
some of that lack of focus on it?
You're probably. The chosen being who they are in God's will is in God's will. Absolutely, I believe in that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think God, what are we doing? He still wants us to do something, right? Or he does. He knows we want to do something. He doesn't need us. That's what I say. He doesn't need us to do anything.
But he wants to include us. He's made that so clear.
Yeah, the Great Commission is about. I feel like Jesus said it this way. Okay, if you want to do something, here's what you. That's the way I feel like he said it.
Kind of, but I you know what though, the biblical narrative, if you follow it, it says more deeply than that because we have messed it up so hardcore so many times. And I mean, look at Malachi. The book of Malachi is just all pretty much about how Israel's botched it, throughout the time up to that point. And I think that but he was so committed that no matter how many times humanity has slapped him in the face and pushed him away, he still, even though he had to discipline Israel repeatedly and then now through Christ, he's never given up on his plan with us. So much so that he had to come down in human form and do it himself.
Yeah.
And he was ready to do it. So, I mean, it is kind of, I get the humorous of what you were
Yeah.
saying, but ultimately, though, too, he's demonstrated that commitment so hardcore. Yeah.
And I'm having a great time. It's fun.
Yeah.
And I
It
feel
is.
I get,
Because you're putting
yeah.
your hobby in,
And I'm doing a
mixing
ministry. I'm
faith in your
cheating.
hobby.
I'm
What's
cheating.
that?
I'm cheating. I'm doing it.
No,
I'm playing a
but
game
that's,
and doing a ministry. No.
but you're doing two things you love and you're overlapping it.
Right.
And that's the value I think the sacred, let the sacred be sacred people are missing is I love Jesus. I love God so much that it's so much of a part of my life that everything I do, I want it to be interactive. And that's why I said if ever I play in a game where it's not welcome, and I don't that often, but whenever I do and I try and play in this world, I feel empty, I feel hollow because a piece
Yeah.
of me is missing. And so what we're doing, we are creating opportunities for people who have that similar feeling to us that they can let their faith and their hobby overlap. And
And it works.
instead of spending
Yeah, it
time,
works
think
on you
about it
too.
as a GM. How much time, I'm not asking, you to tell me a number, but, you know, rhetorically, how much time do you spend prepping a mission, creating your
It's full
world,
time.
doing all the stuff? There's so much. So what if now, and you've experienced this, that time I spend learning about the church in 300s AD, or
Right.
I'm learning things that deepen my walk, deep of faith, that,
It's
and then I'm
it's
playing time with these people hours where good conversations come up and it's like it's redeeming our time. People, one of the biggest criticisms from Christians about gaming, whether it's video gaming or RPGs or anything, is it's such a waste of time. You're wasting so much time.
I you
But
know
this lets us not do that. It's overlapping their benefit.
it's weird because I noticed how much time I was spending learning about Star Wars lore,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
Forgotten Realms lore, and
Yeah.
all this stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I
But
doing? And,
while
Marvel
that's
lore. It's like
fun,
it's fun,
what's the
but this
value
is
of it in the end?
yeah
Yeah.
nothing. And this is more.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about church history and missionaries, what they did, what they wrote about, the hagiographies. I didn't even know that word existed. What that meant, hagiographies. And
Yes.
and now I finally do because of For the Lord RPG. Like I'm finally like, oh, there's a bunch of people who wrote a bunch of stuff about what actually happened about spreading the church,
Yeah.
and
Yes. And it's overlapping these two. You're getting double duty out of your time. You're still having fun, but you're getting lasting value as well.
and I'm learning
You're
about
getting
pagans.
experience, but you're getting learning.
Yeah,
And I think the people that haven't tried it, it's easier for them to criticize because they haven't experienced
and
the
they're getting
fun
fooled by
and
pagans.
what's that?
They're getting fooled by the pagans.
I
Because they don't, what I'm saying? Because they're not learning what the pagan tactics are. Like
yeah,
if you don't know what
yeah,
their tactics are, like the love potion. If you don't know what their tactics are and
yeah,
their level of what they're willing to do
yeah,
things,
yeah.
you
Well,
don't realize.
I think we're afraid. We're too polite and we're afraid to be sold out. So the people that say, "Hey, get your religion out of RPGs or something." Well, first of all, they don't have to play our RPG. That's fine. But secondly, um, that boldness, for some reason, that's acceptable. But I should not make a game like this, or you.
Yeah,
I think that we're afraid to be bold and not offensive. There's a difference between bold and purposely offensive.
right.
I'm not trying to be rude. But just like you don't want to be suppressed, not you, but whoever the person is, or forced into something, felt uncomfortable. I don't necessarily either.
Yeah,
So I don't have to be offensive and slap you in the face with my stuff, but at the same time, I don't have to hide it and divorce myself from it every time I interact with you either, you know?
and just like words of encouragement for Christians. That when I started this, I lost all my players. I had 0 players, and where am I going to
Okay.
find players for a Christian role playing game?
Right. Okay.
You're not. You're absolutely not
Okay.
going to find any. Well, I now have 4 games going. I'm in
Nice.
one,
Yeah.
and I have one that's totally full, and 2 that are, with new people, and they're very intrigued, and I'm trying to. And so I'm just you got to just build up and you got to work at it. And I only want to play with Christians right now because I still feel like I'm in that sort of learning stage of being a Christian
Yeah.
GM or GMing
Okay.
as a pagan, with Christian gospel and
Right.
Christian missionaries. And it's been a blast. And I'm starting to expand it out,
Yeah.
the things that are happening and getting more aligned with that love of dungeon crawl and things that we love
Yeah.
in RPGs.
Right.
But I am so joyful and grateful that I can do this, and I can have my cake and eat it too. I can have adventure
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
swords and fighting and combat and
Yeah,
hilarious
exactly.
blood, fighting and crunching up. But then at the same time, have a moment where I surrender. What is this Christ you talk of? What is this thing? I
Right,
don't
right.
understand. You've healed me. Why did you heal me? I wanted to kill
Right.
you.
Right.
I think, and then creating this conversion or a church
Yeah.
thing. It's just amazing. It's just way awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Have you had since you play with Christians, do you have any experiences? Because I haven't watched all of the sessions.
I don't know. Yeah.
You had a
So, yeah,
session.
just throw them up there. Yeah.
I know. I mean, we can't.
Yeah,
We're too
it's
busy
no worries,
creating
yeah.
to watch each
Yeah,
other's
yeah.
stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But have you had experiences where they don't make the right choice?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you as the GM have to. Tell me, share some of
No,
that.
I love that they make
I
mistakes.
love when that happens. Yeah. go
because I
ahead.
want, we Christians need to learn that we make mistakes and we'll get people
Yeah.
killed or
Yeah.
have to kill people because of our mistakes.
Yeah.
And when they fail to convert or at least, and I don't believe in like you convert people as much as you
No.
subdue their evil so that they can then learn
Yeah.
Christ or just not be evil. Like that's a goal
It's
too.
not our. I can't control somebody else's heart now. Otherwise, we're getting back into the love potion thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm spiritually raping somebody. I
Yeah.
can't control that. Yeah.
It's about again they've had to kill people and maybe not for good reasons, but I like that because I like that's what are you supposed to do? What's the compromise between sacrificing babies and not sacrificing babies? Where's the compromise there? And
yeah.
so that kind of extreme, and we need to learn that that's exactly what they had to deal with. I mean, on slavery, and so when they had to go out and do these things, oh, Christians are killers and oppressors, and like, no, they're trying to bring in good, but they can't. They are confronting evil, and we Christians got to realize that that's what we're going to be dealing with, and we're going to make mistakes. I'd rather them play and make mistakes than we just hide away and be quiet and say things are sacred, and not do anything. We need to go out and cause problems and make problems and create problems.
There's a big effect. I mean, this is a secular study, but where people will not, it's been discovered that everybody will, if they know when they hear like a cry for help or something, most people will just assume somebody else will take care of this. Somebody else is going to call the police.
That's me.
Somebody else is going to help. You know what I mean? And
I'm here in Hollywood. Yeah.
So it's like that's what you just put it off on somebody else will handle it. And so being in situations like this where you get to be able to through the story see the aftermath or see the things, it can be formative and just get you to think. And role-playing games are unique in that they put you in story situations where it's not like watching a movie can be powerful, reading a book can be powerful, but it's different when you're the character and you're in control of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they got prayer and they got rebuke, like as spells. They're not, they're blessings.
Yeah, I
not
know
spells.
what you're saying.
But like they'll, the character will rebuke, and then I'm going to rebuke those cult warriors, and because it just drains them of their energy to fight, basically.
Yeah.
So I say, well, what do you say? Oh,
Yeah.
Then he's got to say something. He's got to say something Christian to them, in the name of God, stop your violence or whatever, but they have to like,
Right.
And same with prayer. They got to, I have the kids pray. What do you say? Oh, hope we be safe on this journey. I love all that because it's starting to get us all to work the way we should be, and then in our regular lives. And I've even brought it up with, we actually had dinner with some neighbors, and I said, what are you doing for the Lord? I've never said that before.
They're Christian, I'm assuming, or
they're Catholic. So, but not to, I want to make a peace offering to Catholics and Orthodox and play the game. Cause anyway, but they're Catholic, but no, but they're being them specifically. I don't know how involved they are in their church. So I'm like, well, what are you doing for the
Yeah.
Lord. You know, what are you doing in your church?
Yeah.
I wasn't criticizing Catholicism. I
No, I
was
know, I know.
critiquing
Yeah.
what they were. You know,
It's just them as
they were
people. I
they're
just want to
mellow.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very
Yeah.
mellow. So
Yeah. Are you doing this? Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
it's just something I
yeah.
would never have said before, and now,
Yeah.
part
But
I
now
think
you
because of the
have
game, I have this
yeah,
psyche
you have
now.
experience that is
Yeah,
you have a soft experience that has made it easier for the hard experience to happen because you have some. But
training.
if you only find yourself in the hard
You
situations,
don't know how to do it.
you don't know how to do it, but
Yeah.
you've done it in soft situations, so now you're more comfortable because you
Well,
have a framework. You have a framework for what that feels like, and if it can go good or bad, and you have a framework for both, so it now you can do that. Yeah,
it's drills. You have to do drills in life.
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
you can't. You
yeah,
know, the secret of courage. The secret
yeah,
to courage is this: drills. If you drill something, and then when that like a good example is for kids. If you drill them on fire emergency fire drill
yeah, yeah.
in the house. If you drill them on that, then when there's a huge fire, they're not going to freak out and cry. I mean, they might, but they
You
have
might,
courage now to do something,
yeah, because
wrong or right. They got
they
something
have
to
a
do,
framework in their mind of what to do.
right? So
Yeah,
that's
so
courage.
yeah, and they're not just reaching for nothing and
Or
at
in
a loss.
shock.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
in
I
shock.
don't know what to do. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
and the same with like basketball drills, same with sword fighting.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
to do sword fighting, you got to keep hitting, and
yeah.
then you can become, do it in naturally. And we
Okay.
don't do it. We don't do it, as far as
Right.
Christians. So this,
Yeah, we don't.
yeah. So that's
No,
what,
it's true. It's good. Yeah. Now that's something as far as being open, let's just say within mine now, yours is a little kind of maybe easier. I don't know with the medieval. I don't know on that, but I'm with my game, it's interesting because I'm wanting to be not you'll confront the same stuff. I want it to be open to as far as Christ following denominations of all types, persuasions. If you're now, I mean, I'm not going to make the lore unfortunately open to like Jehovah's Witness or something because
or
the fact
Mormons.
is like Jesus is yeah, well that's it. Jesus is literally God and they don't believe that and they think it's
Right.
Michael and there's some things that just make it
Well,
naturally incompatible. Not that I can't be friends with you, but my game lore is Christian, and so it's not going to work.
yeah.
And same there, I know that Mormons do a lot of anything faith-based, they'll participate. So there may be Mormons that want to play my game, and I'm happy to let them play my game, but I'm not going to produce content that's friendly to
Right.
what
Yeah.
they really believe when they get in the core.
Yeah.
On the surface, it looks like we believe a lot of the same stuff, and same with Jehovah's Witness, but when you get down to it, there are some really key differences that make it incompatible.
Right.
But Catholic and Orthodox don't have those.
And I like Catholic and Orthodox because of their medieval history. They have a
Yeah.
strong church
And that's
medieval
what I was
history.
saying. It might make it easier for you because of your medieval
Yeah.
centering of your
Well,
plot.
I also have a post-apocalyptic and a Christians in space one as well.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I know
something.
you have.
But
I
it's
knew
the
you had
same,
Christmas in
same.
Space. I didn't know if the other got released yet or not. I didn't
It's
remember,
out,
but I
yeah,
knew you had Christmas in Space.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Now, I
when
have
are you thinking
found,
you're gonna have like a finished, like just in general, like in
yeah,
the future? What is you like? You can buy the tome now, or what is it? What is that?
yeah, yeah. So here's what that's the thing. I'm trying to make it instead of just making a product. So you've made a product.
I'm just
Uh,
throwing them out there.
some other, yeah, yeah, and that's great. I'm glad. There's some other games that have made products. I'm working, and this could be, I just feel called to do this, so I'm doing it. My wife's in agreement, so we're doing this. We're working to make a sustainable business. And so that takes a lot more risk. If something goes wrong, we might suffer from it. We're working with a legit marketing company. We're working with legit raising funds from investors. We're working on those things. So we're dealing with all these big dollar amounts so we can adequately advertise and things like that. And then also I've got the double whammy where because my game is well, that's not only because, but partly because my game is more on the crunchy side, like Pathfinder Plus almost. Now there are games that are more crunchy out there, but it is a little more on the crunchy detailed side.
Is it like
God
battle
really,
mechs kind of thing? Like they're like
what's
the
that?
angels, like battle mechs, like the angels are like they got a
No,
bunch of different.
no, but you know, you do have some feelings where like exertion, like we have exertion in the game that you build up as you're pushing yourself, and it's kind of like heat in a mech where like you're going to overheat if you push yourself too far. If you get too much exertion and don't rest it off, it functions very much like heat in a mech. But you know, we have some stats like that, so it mechanically it can resemble that.
Yeah.
But we just have, but that's like a later thing. You don't have to have it up front. You can add it in like
As you
one of
get
the
up, yeah,
later.
as you go up levels or
Yeah, as
whatever.
you're adding
Right, right,
complexity,
right.
yeah. But point being, we have an app that I'm developing that will be, and I'm trying to, I know I'm trying to um, bridge, I'm trying to, and this is okay, Christian innovation. I'm not just trying to make D&D but Christian. I'm trying to make a unique, innovative experience. And so the 7D12 system, you know, I've had a lot of people, not a lot, not everybody, but like I've had the comment multiple times, why don't you just make a 5e clone? Or why don't you just make a 5e, you know, skin? And first of all, I feel the need to be separate. But second of all, and, you know, not dependent on another, you know, in your case, like you'd say, a pagan game. I don't want to be dependent on Wizards of the Coast and D&D. But secondly, I felt, you know, like I have a good quality system. And God gave me the idea for the app of ways to bridge multiple levels of players, players that like really light, you know, happy, like, you know, if you're a board gamer, Catan, you know, Settlers of Catan, like they like Catan with no expansions. And then your friend likes it with every expansion and all the extra details. Well, it's a way for them to play together. I'm trying to make with the app, it'll enable people of different tastes that like a lighter game or a heavier game to play together because it will feel lighter because the app carries the math, carries the tracking,
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff. But a lot of games have tried how do we integrate digital and physical? How do we integrate this tabletop experience, but yet digital tools? And they've tried and not done it well. I really think since God gave me the ideas for this, I think I'm going to pull it off and do it well. But I got to raise money and make sure I've got a prototype, but I got to complete it and do all those. So that all requires a lot of work before you release. So I'm at the point where I'm prepping to be talking to investors and that kind of stuff very soon. As soon as I know how well that goes, I'll know how soon I can schedule the like a crowdfunder
Wow.
and release, you know.
That's
But it's risky. But I feel like there needs to be at least one option out there that can pave the way as a highly produced game, you know,
Christian
something
RPG.
that people can look at it and say, where your art's tongue in cheek and that kind of stuff, you know, it's
Yeah.
fun. But you would say your game is not highly produced, you know, it's not like you're pushing it out there. I think I'd like to have a game that people can look at the books for D&D and Pathfinder and say, you know what, this can hold up, this can stand up, not just on its quality of its rules and content, which you've got that handled, but just in its quality of production as well, and quality of media, quality of art. And that I feel like that's my piece of the puzzle. You've got a different piece, Holy Lands or Lightbringer, Light Raiders, they have their different pieces of the puzzle. That's the piece of the puzzle I feel called to. So I'm taking a big risk. So how long? I don't know. Ideally, I'd love to run a crowdfunder. With the timing of the release of 6E or whatever you want to call it, you know, one D&D 2024, people are calling it, even though it'll go into 25. Um, that timing, it's probably not good for me to be trying to release something right in the middle of that. And that's happening this year. So ideally 2025, I'll have it all ready to put my best foot forward and say, hey, look, this is a highly produced, ready to go thing, you know?
Wow.
But it's all in his hands, Lord willing, you know, it's all in
Well,
his hands,
you know,
you know.
this is probably not encouraging, but I feel
It's
like
okay.
it doesn't matter if we succeed or fail. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's job well. You know, you gotta keep
No, I'm
trying.
there
Yeah, yeah.
because he laid it on my heart
We
and he
can't.
didn't
Yeah,
say, you must go succeed at this.
yeah,
He said, do it. So I'm being faithful to do it.
yeah.
And the
Whether I succeed
doing
or
of it is
fail,
my
you
part.
know,
The doing to the best of the ability is my part.
right,
The success of it is his part.
right.
That's on him. So whether I do it and fail or do it and succeed, if I did my best, I've been obedient.
Mhm.
Well done, my good and faithful servant, you know? I've been obedient to him. It's the success or failure that's in his hands entirely.
Right.
Exactly. As long as I'm being obedient and I'm not compromising and saying, well, I know that you told me to do this, but I'm going to compromise and do this lesser thing, you know, because I think it's safer. I think there are companies out there that have done that too. I think that there are attempts in the past of Christian games that God put on their heart to make a faith-oriented game. Back, let's say 20, 15 years ago, people were making Christian friendly games. They tried to just say, well, we don't really have much magic in it, but it's still pagan. It's not Christian for sure, but it's not as directly pagan as this other game.
Yeah,
You know?
I just yeah, I don't care how many Christians steal my game or
Yeah,
idea. I just with concerning evangelism, planting churches,
yeah, yeah.
because if they did, great. That makes two of us now. Or, whatever.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I'm saying. I want us to be working together. I
yeah,
want us, and I applaud you for doing another interview with me. I really appreciate that. I have reached out, and I'm not going to name the names, but I have reached out to everyone that I know of that produces a Christian game, and I've had mixed results. Like I definitely haven't had any desire of cooperation, and it's sad to me. I think we need to be they like you said, they're cooperating. They're not, I mean, they're still their own businesses and they're not totally, but they're friendly with one another and they are they're building, like you said, a rising tide. No, you didn't say this, but it's been said enough time, a rising tide, lifts
lifts
all
all
ships.
boats. Yeah.
And so if we can get momentum in the Christian RPG space, it will help all of our projects. And I want us to cooperate, but I don't know, maybe because I don't have something you can buy right now, they don't take me seriously. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I haven't tried, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm still kind of just doing my own thing, really.
Yeah,
But
no, I get
yeah,
it.
busy.
So let's try, let's do it. Let's just keep at it and
Yeah.
pray together. If what if we just as game designers, Christian RPG designers, we got together, the six of us that exist or whatever there are, and what if we just met once a quarter or once a month and just prayed, together about this whole thing? Like that could be powerful, you know? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe once every couple of years.
I don't know if that's often enough to achieve much, but
uh,
hey, but God, I mean anything, but
yeah.
still,
Well, I mean, try to reach out again or whatever, but
I
I'll
will.
keep it on my mind as well and pray on it. And I,
I'll try that again. I will make it because what instead of because I just kind of reached out like, hey, here's who I am. I'd like to talk sometime, and they're probably like, who are you? What? So maybe if I had a definite like, this is what I'm doing. If you gave me permission, you don't have to on camera here or whatever, but like maybe if I could throw you in as somebody else or something, I could say, hey, look, we'd like to get people that are in this space or feel called to the space to just meet and pray once in a while. Would you be willing? Now I've given them a something that I want from them instead of hey, I just want to connect. And then they might have to make a decision on that thing instead of saying, who's this weird guy that I don't know?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet, but
I don't
yeah,
know.
I get what you're saying though. Yeah, I got to think about it. I mean,
No, yeah, pray about it. Think
how
about it.
first, but I'd love to talk to any of them, or have we
Yeah,
all have discussions and just see how
yeah.
everyone's going.
Because I think that's the thing. You've got so many content producers on YouTube for D&D and whatever, and they all interact with each other. And
Right.
so that's what I'm saying. They're creating a total hype together that's lifting all of them.
Right.
And I think we need to do similar things,
Right.
even if we're called in different ways. My game's not like Light Raiders, not like yours. Yours and Light Raiders are different, and Holy Lands is totally different, but they each fit their own piece of the puzzle. And if we could get, these people together and yeah, yeah. Because otherwise what you have is people that are isolated, all trying to do the same thing. It's like having five churches in the same town, little tiny town, and they're all trying to do, if they're trying at all, but presuming that they're trying to outreach at all, they're trying to they're duplicating efforts where if they got together as a body of Christ, this one has this skill, this one has that skill, this one has this skill, and then they could combine it and do something effective instead of struggling with their lack of skills and failing independently. And that's what I feel like has happened. That's one of Satan's greatest weapons against us is to get us isolated and trying outside of our skill set. And so the worst thing he can do for you is get you to keep struggling outside of your skill set. And then you're missing out because of those things. And that eats up the most of your work time because the things that you're not good at take longer than the things you're good at. And then he'll eventually discourage you. I'm not predicting this, but I'm saying then he would eventually discourage you, and then there you go, and you're like, well, I tried, and But if we
I'm having
could,
too much fun, so.
share some of those skills, you know what I mean, and help each other, like, and then we'd also be encouraging one another. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, be the body.
Yeah, I'm having too much. I'm having too much fun or whatever doing this. So,
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep going.
it is
And
fun.
it's like I don't even have a desire to play any of these other games that I have now, like I used to
That's
before.
what's happened
It's
to
weird.
me.
I
I
just
literally
it's just,
play them just
it's
so I can know what's up
yeah,
with modern gaming.
it's just
I
kind of.
do it for research.
But yeah, I
I
just
play D&D and I play whatever, not a lot, but I play it here and there for research so I can know, yeah, I know it from way back in the day, but what's new, like what's new now. So I do that so that I can just have a good sense of a pulse, but it feels empty. When I
yeah,
play those other games, I don't have a desire to play them really. I'll try Dune out or Star Wars, or Transformers or whatever. Like I'll try these games just so I can have some exposure and know what they're doing. But it's just I don't enjoy it as much. It's not as fun. It's like something's missing. And I think that for Christians playing a game that it involves their faith, I really do. I think it's like it's their favorite ice cream flavor they haven't tried. They haven't tasted. If you just taste it, you'd
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
But I got to convince you to
It's,
taste it,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Okay, man. Great talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. I know. Just chat,
Let me.
chat.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try a prayer. It's
Yeah.
weird. I'm sort of a non. I pray. Uh, People say I don't pray that much, and I tell them, well,
Okay.
it's because you're interrupting. I'm praying without ceasing, and now you're interrupting me. So
I
you're
love
interrupting me to pray while I'm constantly praying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Uh,
love it. I try to pray with my contractors, like my artists and this and that, whenever I meet with them. Often we will try to pray for you. I'd love to break up a meeting with that. So let's do it, man. Yeah.
Dear Lord, thank you for just giving us creativity, storytelling. You creating us in your image. I'm so grateful for that. And thank you for letting us be able to start this fight in the RPG culture. I really enjoy it, and I'm grateful that we can do this. And thank you for just having us be able to talk and fellowship. And I hope that you will bless us in this, or correct us in this, and we have fellowship with others to build it up, so that others will take this and do their thing for you. I'm just very happy. I'm very happy about all of this, and want to keep doing it in Jesus'
Thank you.
name. No, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, Lord, thank you for the individual calling you've given each of us and the other people that aren't here on this call, even the GMs out there that love to run a game, but just want something like this. That this things that we are making are the things that they've been asking for and desiring. But Lord, help us to interact as best as you will. Give us the connections we need. Um, just open people's hearts to receive what we're putting out there. Guide us to just be able to bring these things to fruition and not just have made a nice game. That's nice. You've got a book, but if nobody's playing it, what good is it? Lord, help us to make those inroads into playing communities and help to grow. Like Ron's saying, he's growing his. Um, help us to be able to do that, but to also find the right way to connect and to really grow this into a community. Of all things, the body of Christ should be able to be a community, and that's what role-playing games are all about, is community. Lord, help us to build those communities and to discover the right avenues. A lot of times they say it's not what you know, but who you know. Well, we know you, God, and you can do a lot of stuff that we can't. And so we're asking you to step in and do that. And we humble ourselves to you and submit to you. If there's things that you wanted to tell us that we're not hearing, uh, make it clear and help us to see what you're trying to say so we can change direction if we need to change direction, or so that we can be affirmed and keep pressing in on the things that we're doing right. Thank you. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Good talking to you. Let
You
me,
too.
we end this here.